Greetings and welcome to Hot Topics from the Soul. I'm your host, Dr. Valerie Parker Hagan, and it's that time again. We're in February and we're talking about relationships. It's also Black History Month. I have my co host.
And good evening to each and every one of you, and welcome back again to another Hot Topic from the Soul. And as we are now right in the very good part of February, there is so much to talk about. There are so many things that are happening, and we just have to learn to multitask in life, right? We multitask. We deal with day-to-day things, but we deal with relationships. We deal with interactions. We deal with expectations. We deal with communication. And all of those things, sometimes we find ourselves having to do it in the midst of a very chaotic world around us.
Woo.
So let's dive in tonight. Remember to share with someone, like it, and share. Listen, you're going to hopefully take part in this tonight with us, and you can share with some other people that may could use some of the content here. And don't hesitate to put your questions or your comment right there in the chat as well, that we may be able to get to them. But let's get ready. Roll up your sleeve, grab your tea or your coffee, and let's get going with this hot topic from the soul.
Absolutely, Dr. J. I'm excited. We have the most of our listenership always joins us during this month because everybody's looking for someone in their life that's special and that it can appreciate who they are, respect who they are. And, last week I talked about never prioritize someone that makes you an option because a lot of times, especially in the women's position, we
Mhm.
always do more to trying to win the affection or that love of that individual who they're liking and hoping that they like them. So, never prioritize somebody that makes you an option because you know what? You have options too. And a
And
lot of
yes,
women don't believe they have the options because they say, the men are so, they got so many things going on. You don't know if they straight. You don't know if they gay. You don't know if they bi. They go both ways. And the pickings are really slim out there sometimes. So I can understand the insecurity of wanting someone in your life, especially when you become a certain age, but I know so many of my friends that have gotten into relationships and wind up getting married over 60. And I know you can attest to that, Dr. J.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I'm
It
just,
needs change.
it's so much out there. I think the best thing is when you start living your life and celebrating who you are as a person, that light radiates and that person that's for you will come to you.
I think that you're absolutely right. I think one of the things in life is sometimes we have to make sure we're not subscribing to a script that's been given to us, right? A script. Some people have grown up, have come up, believe, well, I just got to have this, and I just have to have this, and I got to have it now. And so they spend so much of their time hoping and wishing that they got to have will come along, that they're not even living their lives that they're currently in fully. And so, because they're not living that life fully, they have not learned to enjoy themselves. They have not learned to really explore themselves. They have not learned really to what difference do I make in the world even alone?
Mm.
What deposit am I leaving in this world even by myself? What do I bring? What do I bring to a dark room? Do I bring light? What do I bring in a place of hopelessness? Do I bring hope? And so all those things are important. And so when we start off from that standpoint there, listen, you don't get so preoccupied with settling for things that come along because you've spent your life knowing your value, knowing your worth, knowing that you have something to offer. And so therefore you're not so ready to be in someone's life that wants to make you an option and not a priority. And that all wraps around what is it that you want out of a relationship. The
Hmm.
relationships are so defined so many different ways now, right? We define them so many different ways. Someone's asked a question about celebrity relationships. I said, well, a lot of those things are just that. They're optics. They're optics. These individuals, if you took away all the celebrity status, they would even like each other. But they
Mm.
benefit from the optics of one another. And then you start talking about, well, what do you think they're going to do? He has no reason to wipe her. He has no reason to wife her. Number one, because of the fact, hey, he don't need her. That he's not wired that way to need her. For him, she's a showpiece. She's an eye candy. She's temporary. She's a conversation of the moment, and therefore she'll always be an option to him because he always feel like, hey, he can have anyone he wants. And so the old saying was that you want to be with someone that you can't live without, not
Mm,
so disposable.
absolutely. And it goes back to expectations. What is it that you're expecting out of that individual? What is it that's going to make you feel comfortable in your own skin where you'll be saying, I want to be with this person through my twilight years. I want to be able to celebrate him or celebrate her because they've met all my expectations. And I think in relationships, when there is a breakdown, it's
Mhm.
because there's no communication of what those expectations are. So if there's no communication where they won't know what to expect from you, and that individual has expectations too, matters to the heart. So what does that look like? In my book, From the Soul of a Woman, Love Shouldn't Hurt, I wrote that love affects our past, our present, our future. Love is an emotion, a gift given to us from God, and it should never hurt. But love hurts. Love hurts in the hands of the wrong person. They can
Absolutely.
break your heart because those expectations that you had, we look at things on Hallmark and Lifetime and see romance, and we want to be carried off into the sunset. But is that realistic? Life is going to happen in a relationship. There may be an illness that comes about. Are you going to be able to stand there in the midst of that illness because you love that person, even though that person is not able to meet your expectations at that particular moment? He met them at a certain time. So, are you going to walk away because there is the health is compromised? you know what does that look like to you? People be like, oh, they look at the exterior instead of the interior of an individual.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Once again, where your heart is, that's where your treasure will be as well. And so when I come back to saying, do people even know what they want in a
Mm,
relationship? Do people even know what they want? And then you go back, you start thinking about, are the things that you want essential? The things that you want, are they essential? Or the things that you want, are they actually superficial? Are they superficial? Going back to the same thing, right? So physical attraction. We understand physical attraction may be important. It is, but should it be everything? Physical attraction,
should it be
like you said.
everything? That's a question. But
Yeah,
unfortunately, Dr. J, I gotta tell you, everybody looks at the exterior. Even me, I look at the exterior first. Oh, that person
yeah.
looks good to me, and
Hmm.
then I listen to them talk. Because somebody could look nice and fine on the outside, and then when he talk, and I don't know that. Are you able to live with that?
Well, they,
Expectations.
hey,
Expectations. Here we
uh,
go. Expectations. So, what are they carrying inside? What are the matters of the heart to them? Are they willing to die for you? Are they willing to go the extra mile to make sure you are happy? Expectations.
yeah, but we have to slow down a little bit because there are some people that may be listening right now saying, "But hold up, before I can even get to that place, how do I find out whether or not that person is the type of person that's would be willing to die for me? How do I find out whether or not this person is that person who's going to be understanding, that person who's going to be adaptable, that person who's going to be patient, that person who won't penalize me in the process, right? Because none of us have arrived yet. Part of the reason when a person comes into our life, they should have impact on us, right? They should say, it doesn't mean that you're not whole. You know, we have this debate about, well, I'm a whole person already. Yeah, you are a whole individual, meaning that you're not half and you're not divided in pieces. But the thing about it, there are certain things in our lives that I believe that when that person comes, they're meant to complete. They're meant to take a part in. They're meant to fill voids and fill places that are there. And if that person comes and they don't feel nothing but your eye candy, then I got news for you. You know, we can start counting down now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, because they will not remain the same.
They
They're
will
going to
not
change.
remain the
Their
same.
body's going to change. The temperament's going to change in some cases. And so we have to understand, what is it that we really value? What is it that there is? That person someone I could talk to? And really, does that person listen? Do I listen to that person? Do I respect that person? Do that person respect me? Do that person respect my values and my boundaries? Do I respect that person's values and boundaries? So we start talking about all those things, because you can have money. And we see this played out on the stage all along. You know, one of my staff person said to me today, and they were talking about, I guess, these superstars. What is his name? I guess Diggs, who plays for the New England Patriots, and I guess is it Cardi B or whatever her name is, you know, and they're going on having these conversations about the fact that these people spend all this money on a Super Bowl party, something like crazy $4 million, and neither one of them showed up. And I said, so they got it like that. But the whole point is this: once again, superficial relationships. What were you expecting to happen inside of this superficial relationship? Things that oftentimes that it becomes an eye show, it becomes optics. And when you marry for optics, let me say something to you. There's gonna come a time that folks don't care nothing about you. You worry about what you look like to other people. Think about it. What do you look like to each other? Do
Mm,
you value me? You know, what place do I have in your heart? And the thing about it, could you love me if I didn't have anything? Could you love me if I did hit a rough patch? Could you love me? And here's a question for the women: could he love you if your hair fell out? Could he love you if you were afflicted with a disease? Could he love you? Could he love you beyond the superficial? Could he love you? Could he nurture you? Could he value you? Could he still see the diamond that you are, even under those circumstances? And so you need to understand, real love goes beyond just hip, thighs, and fingertip and breast. Real love is about really caring. It's about embracing. It's about valuing, understanding that, listen, this is God's creation, and I don't care who she might have been to somebody else before me. I see through fresh eyes who she is. And it may be,
absolutely.
and I have to treat her like this is the first time she's ever been seen.
Absolutely, Dr. J. Well said. You know, and I applaud you on that too, because, you know, a lot of times we as women feel if our hair is together, our nails, and we dressed all tight and everything, we're good picking. But mentally, are we there? Are we
Yeah.
stable? Can we actually handle a person into our life space? You know, before I married my husband, Alex, um, it was like almost 19 years before I married, between the divorce and remarrying again.
Yes.
And I had to mentally be open to the possibilities of love, you know, because all through that empty space, I was raising my children and I was building my business. I had a career I was happy with. I was traveling around, and I enjoyed not having to check in with somebody. And then when I settled down and began to breathe, and then I looked around, and then, like Adam said, yeah, it's just not good to be alone. I need a woman. And I said, hey, I need a man. And so mentally, I had to put myself in that mind space to be open to the possibilities of someone being there, or me being accountable to someone that I could trust. So a lot of times we have to actually put it into our mind and our bodies, a soul, that we want to share who we are. And a lot of times we've been alone so long till we become selfish, not want to share our things, not wanting to share our heart. It becomes all about me, me, me. Well, if he don't uh, walk this way, or if he doesn't talk this way, if he doesn't chew this way, then that's not the person for me. It's all about me because I'm a queen and I need to be treated like a queen. But there's if you want to be a queen, you got to treat them like a king.
You
So
know,
there must
yeah.
be a balance. You must be open to the possibilities of changing who you are as single into two. This is the power of two. Two, how can two walk together except they agree? Even in Genesis, where between Adam and Eve, there was a union, an unbreakable bond that was supposed to be formed there in that garden between the two of them. And Mark and Ephesians, it talk about the father, you're leaving your father and mother and cleave into that individual. But a lot of times that doesn't happen.
And I think one reason that doesn't happen, Dr. Val, is going back to something you just referred to. You talked about in Genesis, and you even quoted a few seconds ago. Notice this: God Himself, after creating man and all that, He then goes what in Genesis 2:18? It's not good that
Not good
man
to be alone.
be should be alone. Now watch this. So many times the world gives us different messages about being alone, right? And so some people are beat down for being alone. Other people try to act like I'm not lonely, I don't get lonely, and all those things as if that's some type of curse. God created Adam in perfection, in complete. He created him that way, and yet it's still, although he was complete. Think about this. Although he was flawless, yet still God said something was missing. God, yet something was still missing. So we have to understand that although created in perfection, something was still missing. And the thing about it, we have to understand this, and this is going to help somebody. Loneliness is not a flaw.
Absolutely.
But let me say it again. Loneliness is not a flaw. It is a design signal. It's a design signal, meaning that there's something out there that is meant to what? Complement you. Two is about is being two is not about weakness. Let me elaborate there. Because too often we tend to fight, especially women. I can I don't need a man. That whole theory. I don't need anybody. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you can suppress it all day long. You can act like that doesn't mean that you're not able to work and make your own money. That's not what that means. That don't mean that no. Two is not about weakness. You just got to quote him. How can two walk together except they agree, right? Two is not about weakness, it's about completion. God did not create Eve as competition to Adam. That's not what he created. He created Eve as a correspondence to Adam. It wasn't good for him to be alone. No, let me make him a helpmate, right? Because everything in his creation had a corresponding mate. For every tiger that was he made a tigeress. For every baboon, he made a babooness. For every lion, there was a lioness. But it was man that had no one there. He didn't have.
Yeah.
So I said, listen, this is what happened. I am creating him so that there's someone that corresponds with him. Our problem is that some of us we've been damaged in our journey called life, and we've thrown up our hands and we say, I don't want to correspond with nobody anymore. I don't even want to risk that. I don't want to be vulnerable anymore. I don't want to give nobody another chance because we're all afraid that everybody's been polluted by life, been damaged by society, have been hurt. We've all concluded that people are more likely to hurt you and not be honest than to be honest.
Right.
And notice when we do that, we keep narrowing the pot. We keep narrowing the picking. Why? Number one, because of our own ideologies that we've accepted as being our norm. But I want to challenge somebody today to understand this, that the scripture is still right. I think it's Ecclesiastes 4 to talk about two is better than one. For if one falls, the other will lift them up.
The other will lift them up.
Isn't that powerful? Because
Hmm.
two creates strength. That's what two does. Two creates strength where one becomes vulnerable. When one becomes weak. It feels kind of good, Dr. Val, when I'm exhausted, when I've given out and poured out all day long, and I finally walk through the house and I have my wife there to be able to say, what do you need? Or can I get this for you? Man, that feels good. When I just have had a long day and things are on my mind, you want to talk about it? It feels good. Now, listen, the opposite thing to that is when there was no one, and you
Right.
come and you're having that conversation all to yourself, and then you get so bad that you start answering yourself, and you understand that's a whole difference there. And so when we start thinking about this whole thing about two, the journey toward two and what it looks like, the power of relationship, you got to understand the investment must be worth it.
Mm.
The investment must be worth it. And
Wow.
start by valuing yourself. Start by valuing who you are. Don't let anyone diminish your values. Don't let anyone diminish your truth. And when I say diminish your value, please don't get it wrong. I'm not talking about, well, I was used to Gucci's and Louis. That means absolutely nothing, baby. That's just materialistic stuff. That made you feel good inside of it, but it didn't comfort you. It didn't understand you.
Mm.
It didn't hold you. Now, let's be real. So when we start talking about value, we're talking about people that don't leave us the same way they found us, that they add to our lives.
Add to your lives.
They add to our lives. They add understanding. They add what? Patience. They add capacity. And we talked about that the other week. We talk about so many times in a relationship, people will start off saying, well, yeah, we just got a chemistry. Chemistry is good. Chemistry is a good sign that there's a possibility. But it cannot totally be based upon chemistry. You can have chemistry and have total disastrous interaction with each other. So you got to not only look for chemistry, but what about compatibility? How are we compatible inside of this? Then that last C, I often say capacity. Do they have the capacity to love you? Are they able to expand? Are they able to grow? Are they willing to grow? Are they willing to expand? Are they willing to leave their comfort zone enough to discover and to understand and be able to take a very thorough examining look at you and seek to understand you, seek to walk with you, not seek to be your competition, not seek to be the person to control you, but once again to correspond with you. That's what the power two looks like.
Absolutely, Dr. J. And we have so many women, like I said, saying, I'm a queen, and Proverbs 31 talks about, the women being the stabilizer of the home and everything, but we unstable. How can you stabilize a home when you're unstable? And
Uh,
it's up to us as we're nurturers. We're emotional beings and we're nurturers, and it's up to us to cultivate the environment of our home to make it welcoming, make it appealing. And when you're so focused on me, myself, and I, and what that individual is supposed to be doing according to what the world says, you miss out. You're going to miss your
absolutely.
moment of somebody wonderful, because when you're building together as two, becoming
Yes.
one, it's a beautiful thing. My husband didn't know everything he needed to know about how to, you know,
Okay.
speak with me, deal with me emotionally, the corporate valve versus the spiritual valve. He didn't know
Yeah.
how to balance that out, but he was there and he
Yes.
was willing to listen. And a lot of times we don't do that as women. We don't listen. The man will sit and listen because of the fact that we going like this nonstop. So he don't have a choice but to sit and listen and let it soak in, and then be like, yes, dear. Okay.
You know,
So go ahead.
I was going to say, for many that are listening, listen, we want to invite you to put your comments in the comment section. If you have a question, you have a question that you would like to ask, put it in the comment section so we can address it, take part inside of it. We want to be interactive and once again share. And I want to go back to something you said. You keep leading with all these great points. And we talked about that power of two being so important. And for so many, they become fearful because they've been hurt before. Yeah, we've been hurt before. Yeah, we've all been hurt before, right? Hurt comes with this thing. Here's something that people don't like to accept, but I want you to look at it from the lens, even inside our relationship. What is that? Life guarantees falls. We're going to fall in this life. Life guarantees that we're going to have falls. We're going to fail in some area. We're going to have setback emotionally, yeah, spiritually, and mentally. But that's why two is better than one. Life is not about never falling, but it's about having that person there that helps pick you up. That's what that power is all about. If you are
Absolutely.
dating someone, or if you're with someone right now that is looking for perfection, that you never make a mistake, that you never are weak, that you never that you're never, if I would call uh, disillusion, you may be looking for something that really doesn't exist because life has its way of guarantee that we're going to be impacted in those areas. But you got to understand, strength is not proven by never falling. Strength is proven by having that other person to help lift you up. That's what strength. That's what we mean when we say stronger together. Why? Because when one is weak, the other lift the other one up. And that's what real relationship is about. So let me say something to you. You could have a dude that is 6'4", all muscles and everything else, but if he doesn't have the mental, emotional, and spiritual capacity to lift you up, baby, listen, you'll be down there all by yourself with all those muscles.
Well,
So you
yes,
got to be willing to look at it through the lens of understanding uh, that when we have two, when we communicate, it also creates accountability. It helps keeps us both on track. How do we hold each other accountable? Well, baby, remember when we said this? Remember we said we was going to do that. Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. We can do this. We can do this. But when we don't have that, we're often moved by our emotions, moved by what
absolutely.
we're feeling. And we got to be willing, if we want this, if we really want this thing, we got to be willing to invest in it because two multiplies productivity. It multiplies productivity. I'm so glad two is better than one because they have good reward for their labor. That's what the scripture says to us. They have good reward for their labor. Let me ask you a question. For those you that are listening, are you willing to roll up your sleeve? Are you willing to roll up your proverbial sleeve and invest into this thing called relationship? Are you stuck with continuously blaming the other person for past mistakes, past hurts, past comments, and even past stuff that they had nothing to do with? Because at the end of the day, you continuously bringing up what has been will never get you to where you need to be. And that is what I'm talking about, the power of two.
Absolutely, Dr. J. And I'm so glad you said that because, those years that I was waiting before I was to get into a relationship, that's one of the things I did. I worked on me because I'm a survivor of domestic violence, and to be under physical and mental abuse for 19 years, there was a lot of layers to pull back. So
Yeah.
when I would go out on dates with guys, and any little sign I saw that reminded me of Mister, as in the color purple, I was done. I didn't even give them a chance. I was done. So, once you are able to free yourself to be open to the possibilities, then it's not going to come because you will make that other individual pay for something they didn't even do. And they're willing, and if they're willing and want to listen to what you have to say, first of all, you got to communicate and tell where it hurts. And if you're not able to be vulnerable with that person that you are interested in, then it's not going to work anyway. Because
Absolutely.
you have to establish. what I call a relationship with the communication, so that both parties will be open to expectations and have the capacity to work on what's broken.
You said a mouthful, and that power too, that they got to be able to work together, because so often we hear this word in church, but two provides a covering. See, when you're in a relationship, and you're especially a committed relationship, you're covered, right? That's, once again, two is better than one. When two come together, and let me give you this, not by threats, not by
Mhm.
ultimatums, not by, if you don't do this, then this is not going to happen. Well, you
Yeah.
can forget about. No, this is because you're coming along willingly. In other words,
Yes.
it may sound cute to you. Somebody say, "Well, I just did this because of you. Because, hey, because she wanted to do that." No, I need to know that you did it because you wanted to be in it. That you want to experience this with me. I may not know what this looked like, but baby, I'm willing to go in it with you. I want to experience this with you. And if we do so, what happens, I found out that two, when we come together, it's two. Two, when you have two, two confirms direction. Yeah, it confirms direction. When you're at that valley of decision, or you're trying to make decisions about things, two confirms direction, and it discerns truth. Because listen, out of the mouths of two or three witnesses is his word established. So when
Hmm.
we understand this thing, when the two of us get together, we come together with that vulnerability, that openness and willingness to listen. And it produces this whole ability to not only discern truth, but to confirm the we're going. So if that's what you're looking for, it's got to be a power of two.
Absolutely. The power to is so important. We're going to turn it up again next week, Dr. J. There's so
Absolutely.
much that there is to talk about, so many different layers regarding relationship. And if you have a question or you want us to talk about something on the show, put it into the chat box and we will address it on one of the shows that we do, because we are here to empower and inspire you to live your best life. But until then, don't forget to subscribe to Hot Topics from the Soul. Until next week, we'll see you then. And don't forget to share.
Yeah, yeah. Hot topics from the soul, reaching all minds, turning knowledge into gold. Yeah, hot topics from the soul. Yeah, hot topics.